Yes, Dana. I'm thinking about doing. I saw your suggestion about doing it as a regular hangout. We can maybe try that. A lot of them that I see, there's a lot of feedback because people just come in and are not properly muted, and there's just a lot of being able to not understand what's going on. So we can maybe try that. We'll see. I know what you mean. It would be nice to be able to talk back and forth for sure. All right, so we're officially going to start now. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm trying out a new camera angle here, so you get to see more of my shiny head. So let me know what you think about that. I just have my Chromebook up on like a baking sheet or baking thing rack. All right, so since it's Halloween week, I wanted to briefly mention Halloween. So number one, I'm pretty upset about Halloween this year because I wanted to go as Hagrid and have my kids go as Harry, Potter, and Hermione, but my son will not be anything but a Ninja Turtle. So the reason I bring up Halloween is that it usually means you're either going to have trick-or-treaters come into your place, or you're going to be sitting there with a giant bowl of candy, or that you have a bunch of candy from family and friends, or at like a work party, something like that, or just going to Halloween parties where there are food choices, and then there's candy everywhere there too. So my Halloween is no different. My plan for the day is there is no work party because we're doing some major event at work. My daughter gets home at 4:30 p.m. In my town there's a Halloween parade and costume contest at 5, and then trick or treating is from 6 to 6:30. So that doesn't leave a lot of time to eat dinner. So it's likely going to be pizza. So I know you're thinking, what a rebel! He's going to have pizza and Halloween candy on the same day and still stick to his plan. So I'm going to treat it. I'm going to treat it just like every other day with a social obligation. So I'm going to fast until lunchtime, eat nothing but protein and veggies, and then eat some pizza. And then I'll probably have a few pieces of candy that I snipe from my kids' candy bags. Obviously, I'll ask them first, but so by planning ahead, I'll be good enough on my protein and calorie targets with some wiggle room. And then if I go over a little bit, it's one day not worth worrying about, and it'll all be guilt-free because I won't be tempted, and because of that, I won't be tempted to like binge out of pity for how badly I messed up. So this leads into one thing that I wanted to mention to everyone regarding their social obligation lists. So depending on when you've joined EFL, you may have started earlier in the summer, or you may have joined recently, is that it's a good time to go over your list and make sure it's updated. The reason for that is the primary takeaway for the list is that the social obligation list is about realizing how oftentimes things come up, and then seeing how big that list can be really gives you some perspective that social obligations and times when you can't be on plan are really the normal, and the days whenever you can eat whatever you've planned in advance without any adjustments on the fly, those are the exception. And I really wanted to share this particular exercise and the revelation from it to everyone and make sure that you've thought about it, because for me this was a game changer. This was one of the primary ways I was able to eliminate the feeling of guilt and going off of the diet. It really allowed me to see that you have to find a way to make everything be part of your plan, so that no matter what life throws at you, whatever event comes up, whenever you just can't do it in a single day, that the feelings you associate with how well you do don't throw off the other days. Because if everything works in your plan, you just have to do the best job you can, and you're never really off plan. So there is a way to make everything work. And because you're trying to make everything work, you're not going to be perfect, but there's no need to be perfect every single day. I believe I've said this before, is unless you're a model that makes your living, in your underwear, or you need to be at a specific weight for a sporting event, like you're a wrestler or any other weight-based event like a powerlifter, there's no rush. It's better to enjoy life, take it slow, and that way you can incorporate life as it comes to you and still make forward progress. Maybe slower than if you were, an actor or something like that. But if you make it slower and you use habits to get there that you can live with, you're not going on plan and off plan and cycling between those periods. And I find that to be the best way to do it for myself. And I'm sharing that with you because I feel that that's really the best way in general. And because we're kind of on the topic, I do want to briefly mention binge triggers in general and in application to Halloween. So as you have binges, it's a good opportunity to reflect on them and try to make note of what your binge triggers are. It's possible that you've had success in reducing the number of binges, but please be aware of what your binge triggers are if you have them. So if you happen upon some Halloween candy that you know is a binge trigger, that is one occasion where I'd say just try to avoid it entirely. So for me, that's going to be if there's a bag of Reese's Pieces. I literally could not stop with one serving. I would way overshoot my goals, and I would probably eat the entire bag. And then I'd probably feel bad after the fact that it was a waste of calories, and it could have been like a gigantic mountain of food that I would also have enjoyed, but it would have been a minuscule amount of Reese's Pieces. So if there's any Reese's Pieces floating around, I'm going to try my best to avoid them because it is a binge trigger for me, and I don't want that. So, on to the questions. Our first question comes from Tara, and Tara was wondering what to do if you have an uneasy stomach or a stomach ache. Should you try to get in some minimum number of calories, or should we listen to our bodies? Tara felt that it was best not to force things, but mentioned some research that shows we need a minimum number of calories in a given day. So that's a great question. Tara, I agree with your intuition that you should listen to your body. If your stomach hurts or you're sick, you're feeling queasy, and you just don't feel like eating, there's no need to force feed yourself to get some minimal level of calories. I know in the past I've said that you should try to eat as close to your, undershoot on your calorie goal, but try to get pretty close there and try to get as close to your protein goal as you can. But if you're not feeling well, there's no requirement that you should try to do that. You should listen to your body. If you do not force feed yourself. The most recent research in regards to periods of fasting shows that you're not going to cause any harm to your body. You're not going to have any problems. Those type of things appear after you haven't eaten anything for more than 72 hours. There's plenty of people, some are actually bodybuilders that have gone beyond 24 hours without eating a single thing. Now, it's not a diet. It's a framework of eating where your meal timing is based on you fast for an entire 24 hours, and then you eat in a normal 24-hour period, you eat a little bit more than you normally would because you fasted. For me, that seems like that would lead me to fasting and then just eating a bunch of crap. So if you feel sick and you feel like you can't eat anymore, no worries. I do want to caution about the mentality of eating back the difference in calories the next day. It's a little bit of a slippery slope and not a good mentality to get into. So make sure that if you are feeling sick and you are done eating for the day, that's fine. Hope you feel better, but don't carry that remainder over. So yes, calorie deficits add up over a week for sure, but we want to make sure that we want to simplify things so that you're looking at a day-to-day basis. Make sure that your habits are natural, something as natural as brushing your teeth, rather than having to do addition and math and carrying remainders over. You don't want to get into that. So if you find yourself thinking something like, oh, I was 100 calories under yesterday, that means I can go over 100 calories today. So I want to caution against that behavior and just try to focus on each day, do the best you can that day. And like I said, if you're not feeling well, you're upset to your stomach, do not force feed yourself. There's no reason to do that. Just feel better and don't worry about it. It's not worth worrying about. So that was all of the questions that were submitted through Photocracy and some of the points that I wanted to hit. I am seeing some things in the Q&A, so keep them coming, and then I will start going through them and answering them as they came in. So sorry, Dana, I started kind of talking before I saw your reply. So you're saying that you mute everyone unless they're talking. All right, well, let's try that next week. So in case anyone is watching and they missed it, Dana was saying that she would prefer not the hangouts on air, but actually a group hangout where people can talk if they'd like. So what I'll do is I've never set one of those up before, but I'm sure I can figure it out. It's not rocket surgery. I'll set that up, and then I'll mute everyone. And then if you'd like to speak, we can unmute. And, Dana, now since you're the volunteer and you use it at work, I'll certainly be asking you if I have questions. So we'll give that a shot. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? All right. And Chase, looks like, yes, I saw that you had just joined the EFL Continued group, so that's awesome. An insulin reset. Chase is asking if I've ever heard of an insulin reset. I've heard of a couple diets like that would basically be changing the way your body reacts to sugar by eliminating certain foods. I'm not very familiar with the science behind it, but a lot of people that have said that they've had good success with kind of resetting their sweet tooth, and that's usually done in the context of a low carb diet, basically eliminating sweets. The paleo diet purports to be able to do that, whereby it's more of like a taste bud resetting, where you're not craving sweet things anymore. I'm not sure if there's any specific mechanism to like reset the insulin in the short term like that, but it would just come as an effect of, obviously outside of the context of diabetes. You know, I'm not in the medical field. I can't speak to specific medical conditions, but for a normal person, as simply as a side effect of losing weight, your reactions to insulin will be different. And that's something that I've noticed myself. You know, when I was 400 pounds, and if I were to eat a bunch of fast digesting carbs over a certain amount, I would like feel sick to my stomach. I would get hot. Like it would feel like it was 150 degrees. I'd start sweating, and I wouldn't actually get energy from it. I would feel lethargic. So I'd get hot, sweaty, and then I'd feel like I needed to take a nap. When I've been at 200 pounds, that same amount of food would have the opposite effect. I'd feel great. I'd feel like I could bust through a wall. I'd be like, all right, I need to go running, and I hate running, you know, things like that. So as you do lose weight, the way you react to insulin in your body does change. And that's usually a good marker for having insulin resistance is a marker for metabolic disorder, which is obesity as a part of the metabolic disorder. So if you have something specific you've heard of, Chase, you can feel free to post about it, and I'll be more than happy to look into it. But simply the act of losing body fat over time can reset how you react to insulin in your body and how you react to carbs and how they make you feel. And that's usually a good indicator of how you react to certain foods. So if you do that test, like if, for example, if you have pancakes and they make you feel horrible half an hour later, it's probably a good indicator that for now at your current weight, you may have a better reaction with slower digesting carbs or even a higher fat diet, you know, switching some carbs for fat. You may feel more energetic that way and not feel bad after eating carbs. All right. Are there any more questions? Let's go ahead and give it a moment. And while we're doing that, I'm going to check on the photocracy groups and see if any more were posted. All right, I don't see any more questions posted. I'll just give it another moment here. All right, here we go. A comment from Dana. Dana is saying that she is finding less sugar cravings and that she works better on protein in the AM and for lunch. Yes, that's awesome. I find that I'm the same way. Many days I don't eat any carbs until like dinner time and after. I basically just run on some carrots with my lunch. I have some chicken breast or other pieces of chicken, and I usually eat hard boiled eggs for lunch. And I find that I do fine with that. All right. So you have another question coming in. I just want to check one thing here. Guys are keeping me on my toes today. Tiny keyboard for midget hands. All right. While I'm trying to find this other question, I do want to mention that since Dana said that, I think that is a great approach that's well worth trying. And I know I've said this before, but I think it does bear repeating that it's better to get your protein earlier in the day and then have the problem of what do I eat for dinner that's no protein. That's a good problem to have. So it's better to start the day with lots of protein, breakfast, lunch, and then not have to worry about it later on. I like I said, I often overshoot because I make sure to get my protein in my earlier meals, so that I know people have said even recently that their biggest problem is I didn't plan for this social event and now it's here. What do I do? Well, my philosophy all along has been if I eat all my protein really early in the day, that no matter what comes up, I can still eat whatever I like and still make it fit and still hit my goals, and it's never a problem. Okay. I'm just seeing if we have another question here. I want to make sure I get to all of them. I don't want to miss any. Okay, so I did answer it then. Okay, it seems like there's a little bit of a delay between asking it and me seeing it in the sidebar. Either that or I'm just rambling and not paying attention to the sidebar. Maybe is I want it to distract me too much if I'm currently on a roll. So are there any more questions out there? Just give it another moment here. All right. Well, I didn't see any more come in. If you guys think of any, please let me know. And like I mentioned earlier, if someone had joined and didn't hear it, we're going to set up the next week's hangout as a group hangout instead of a hangout on air. That means that if you would like, you can ask your question by talking instead of having to type it in. That'll put me on the spot a little bit more, but that's fine. And I think what we'll do is I'll mute everyone until it's ready for questions, and we'll go from there. And that's something new, but we'll give it a shot. So, all right. Well, like I said, if you guys have any questions after this, please let me know. Please post it. I hope everyone has a great week. I know Halloween's coming up, and I tried to cover about that as much as I could. So if you run into a specific question or issue in regards to that, let me know, and I'll be talking to everyone soon. Have a great week.